Hello, everybody. With solar-powered urban furniture solutions that bring energy, security, connectivity to the heart of our cities, this company is transforming benches, bike parkings, bus stops, and just like a lot more public spaces into champions of sustainability towards what they call a smart city. And I'm very excited for this. Let me introduce SEEDia. Again, hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Builder Nation. I am your host Sam, and today we are joined by, and excuse me for the pronunciation here, Piotr Hołubowicz, I believe, the CEO and co-founder of SEEDia. Welcome, Piotr. Thank you very much for joining us today. Could you please introduce yourself just a little bit? Hey, I gave it my best. I gave it my best. Thank you. Hmm.
With the targets. And now we have like four different product groups. So we provide them for 32 countries at that point. The mission is to change the city for the better.
Right, and that's actually what I really want to discuss first and foremost before we jump into the technology and everything. This vision that you said that you have about just changing the city for the better, right? Using tech, I mean, we can already see a little image that you have in the back, like a poster about these. They seem like scooter racks, what
Yeah,
I
they
would
be the
with this.
charging stations for this micro mobility.
Right, right. I mean, it looks amazing. So the very first question that I wanted to ask you is, we're gonna touch into how did you come with Cydia in the first place, but how did you first envision a smart city? Like, how did you first were sitting around maybe in a bench in the park and saying this could be done better with tech? How did you first see a smart city could be possible that eventually led to you founding Cydia?
Yeah. But at that point where I was not even aware of what smart city actually is. The point of my life when I invented the first workbench was actually when I was working in the company that was building the parcel locating stations, and they were in the public spaces. And when I was in the R&D department, I was really aware of the challenges they were facing with the electricity and connection to the grid. So this is the
Mm-hmm.
one thing, and how tricky it is to make the connection. And just when I was having some conversation with my friends after the weekend, they told me that they were, having a beer in the
Mm-hmm.
beach in the park. And just, they found around out of the energy, and it would be nice to have some source of power in them. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, so making the electric bench is not something tricky, but I know that we cannot make it from the regular, grid power because it will be very sophisticated to be able
Mm-hmm.
to sell those to the public spaces. Uh, so we need to try to figure out something different. Let's try the solar energy. So that
All
was that
right.
was the beginning, and in the first concept, but at that point, as I mentioned, it's not actually the smart city. We only knew that we want to use the solar energy to provide the electricity in bench formed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the concept that pushed me to design the first solar bench. But eventually, from the very beginning, we knew that we need to connect it somehow, so
Yes.
make it IoT, and use this possibility that we have the electricity in the public space in kind of venture product to gather the data from public space. So this is something we knew from the very beginning.
Right. Okay. Thank you. But now I'm very curious about this. You already mentioned something, which is that you need to figure out a way to store it in the first place. Um, it is not a new technology. For example, that there are sort of solar powered stations, right? Maybe for charging the car, or little sort of kiosks to charge maybe a battery or a laptop or something in sort of parks and stuff. How did you first sort of think of, for example, a bench, right? That There's nothing that you can actually plug into it. How do you first come up with that idea, and also then how do you make it effective enough to actually be relevant, like the power generation, make it relevant so that it can be used by the city?
Yeah. So for the bench, we really wanted to redesign something that already exists, because at that point, in my mind, it was like too tricky to design like the totally new product for the public space. Like, let's say, kind of umbrella with the solar panels and the charging slots. We know that this will be different than what we already have in the cities. But
Hmm.
what we did have was a lot of benches that were just everywhere in the city. So starting from the idea of redesigning the existing bench, the smarter one. So when city mayor or the mayor from the city space will be just choosing what kind of bench
Hmm.
to bring to the park, you will have to make decisions between the regular ones and the smart ones. But eventually, you need to be benches at some point. So this is one of the reasons we chose the lithium one, was that we knew that during the charging of your electric device,
Hmm.
you need to have some time. It takes time. So
Yeah.
if you need to charge your mobile device, you will spend at least 15, 20, 30 minutes, and
Hmm.
you will not stand. So the sitting position was something that was very natural for us during the charging. So this is actually the reason we started from the side of the bench.
Right. That's actually a
And the
very
other part of the
clever
question?
one. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was curious of how do you make these benches efficient enough in terms of the
Oh,
solar power
yeah,
generation to make them
yeah,
sort of
it's a
viable.
very
Yeah.
important question, actually, because we are in Poland, which is not a very sunny country. So from the very beginning of the product design, we started from like ready market control systems for the solar energy control with the battery, but even after the first product we sold, we knew that okay, it is working maybe, but we actually don't know if it's working in the winter. So
Hmm.
so we at the beginning, and we knew that to be able to install those products worldwide, and even in the countries like we have in Europe, we need to figure out how we can first of all manage the energy to be able to go through the entire year.
Hmm.
Second of all, know what's going on with the product. So actually, the first heavy R&D element we were doing was designing the special PCB board that is controlling
Mm.
the electricity inside of the bench and is sending the status if product was alive
Wow.
or not alive uh, to online database we have prepared, so we knew what's going on with the products.
And you said you set this up, like you created this PC board in house.
Yeah, it's our
Wow.
design of the electronics as well as the algorithms. So the
Uh huh.
algorithms for the continuous developments. It took
Wow.
us like 4 or 5 years until the final chip is patented at that point, because the way we manage energy is like super important, because
Yeah.
the product is working different, taking consideration of how much energy we actually put inside, and what is behind the usage of the energy.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool. Thank you for sharing that. Now, you actually mentioned something just in your previous replies that I'm very curious about. So, you mentioned that it was very hard for at the beginning to sort of sell these right to the municipalities because in the end, you're talking about public spaces. You're talking about parks or walkways, for example, places that in the end, the ones that choose what goes and what not is the municipality, right? How difficult was it to come to a solid first product to pitch it for the first time in front of, well, the municipality hall, for example, for them to go like, well, yeah, this might be it for smart cities.
Yes. The fun part here is that we actually, the first stage we have done was B2B. And since
Hmm.
my co-founder, he's coming from the business sector, and he was having the started with the smart public Wi-Fi. we started from the offer for the hotels, restaurants, energy companies. So that was the initial offer we
Oh.
had. And actually, the first stage we have done was for the energy company. They use our products during the rebranding process because they were doing the rebranding from the coal company to more green energy company.
Hmm.
But it was the like initial for us to be able to make some marketing, use some, content marketing, put some information in all these tech
All right.
portals. And eventually, the next customers who started coming to us, they were actually municipalities. So we wanted to push the B2B sector in the beginning because we felt like it's gonna be easy. But after the first sales, we really fast came to the point that it's actually municipality who is the main customer. But at that point, after the 6, 7 years of development, especially now when we started with these bike charging stations, we are coming back again to the business sector because they're very interested in changing the way employees are coming to the work. So they're also very interested in those products.
Right. And what were the first ones? Like sort of the first patch, if you will, of products or a lineup that you presented that I accepted in the first place? Because I cannot
Well,
imagine that it
the
was the whole
benches,
line you
the
had.
design we don't have in the offer anymore.
All right. All right. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. Okay, it's actually pretty. I find it very interesting how you really are shifting the way that a city looks, right? So that is one question that I have for you. How the first time that you actually saw this installed, your solutions, the SEEDia products in a park or in a space in the public, how did you feel first seeing it really come to life? This is a very curious thing that I genuinely want to know. How did you, as the founder, the CEO, and the mind behind this felt when you first saw your tech being used by a person random on the street who just sat down and plugged in their phone, for example? How was it?
It's well, that's the first thing really exciting because the very beginning of the company existence, I was the one I know the main hobby. So I was responsible for the product design, for the product assembly, for the product installation and so on. So it was like anything on me. So when we in the process from the very beginning of the concept and then after the installation. You probably know it because when the first users are interacting with the products, you actually do not know what's going to happen, and that eventually, the users were really excited as well about this technology. It was
Hmm.
working, so so they were very happy as well as the customer because our customer is not our user. You have to keep that in mind. So also the customer, especially at the beginning, they were also taking really high risk because they didn't know what's
Yeah.
gonna happen. So yeah, and the beginning was not like super easy because the product was very fresh in the market, even though we're having a lot of users from the early days of the product's installation. There were still like a lot of morning guys who were saying that okay, it's probably wasted public money stuff and nobody's gonna use it. So that is the beginning. But after like 2 or 3 years of installation, also in countries,
Hmm.
we are now having like 100% of positive feedback.
Wow, that's amazing. And actually, I did have a question noted down precisely about this feedback that you mentioned, right? Because you also mentioned that it took quite a few years to really develop and reach the working point that you currently have for your tech, right? So during all of this research and development process and during all of this R&D sort of time, just how did you first start getting that feedback, right? From the users, maybe from testers, sorry, people who ran it for the first time, or maybe for the first actual installations that maybe there were some flaws or something. Just how important was the feedback, and how did you first start implementing that during the R&D process to improve your products?
Starting from the idea point,
Hmm.
what we have done at the very beginning, we have created 9 industrial design of the village. Totally
Uh-huh.
different from the modern one to the very futuristic one, and we share those with the customers to take their feedback about the best design,
Right.
which will be the best one they find will be the one they want to have next to their office in the public space, and we only choose 3 of those to take them in the
Mm.
offer. So we started from, feedback was always like super important for us. Later on, when we sold the benches, we provide them first of all to the office of the customer. So he checked those and check if he's happy about the functionalities, about the design, about the
Right.
branding and stuff. And after those, we put them outside. And like the first week, we're very active next to the product. So we're doing some sessions, but we're also asking people if it's obvious for them what is this product about, because it was something very fresh.
Yeah.
So we were trying a little bit of educate, but mostly to take the feedback about obviously of the product, and if they know it's a branch, it's selling the USB socket, so it's for covering and it's probably having some extra functionalities, but kind of.
Hmm.
Yeah, so also we're looking out how to use the branding and put some information in the product to be as useful for the final user as those can be. And
Right.
this is something we're having in the process of designing the product. So every single product, even the new ones we are now designing, we're starting from this, conceptual industrial design, and then
Hmm.
then speaking with our customers, gather the feedback, and to be aware and sure that we really want to design this product and build it before we
Right.
spend all this money for the R&D.
And that's actually very clever because it is precisely what I was thinking. That, for example, the image that you have in the back, right, the scooter sort of rack and charging station. It is
Yeah,
true. If you build that, but in the end nobody really saw use for it, it would be
yeah.
time and work wasted. So it makes total sense that you make this feedback, or that you take this feedback since the concept. That's actually pretty interesting. Now I want to talk a little more about the. Oh yeah.
All the products were first of all, we are saying as a pilot, and it always named that it is a pilot. So
Hmm.
we identify the customers, I mean the users of the public space and the citizens, they know it is a pilot. So if
Right.
something is okay.
Right. Right. You think of everything. That's actually pretty cool. You think of everything. All right. Now, what I was saying, I want to really touch the actual technology that you have, all right? Because I mean, it is totally normal that to say that you didn't actually invent solar panels, clearly, right? But you definitely do apply them in a very specific use case. So first and foremost, during the development stages and then now production, for example, are there any modifications you have to do to the panel itself to make sure it matches the final product in terms of efficiency, in terms of aesthetics, because it's also very important? What sort of modifications do you do to it?
Yes. So solar panels as a technology of the energy production, it is having some limitations.
Hmm.
If you are doing the installation of this product in the public space, you do not always have a control of the positioning. So it may be different. And from the starting point, you are not able to use 100% of power
Yeah.
that solar power can do. So if you have that in mind, you know that you really have to focus on the energy management
Hmm.
and ways to put the panel in the position that it will be working as deep as possible, and also to use any kind of different environments
Yeah.
for this panel to be able to get more and more energy or better efficiency. So what we are doing, first of all, it is an energy management system that is really having three different working modes. One is like power, the second one is the smart one that is changing the way,
All
and the
right.
third one is the full mode. It is putting like all of the functionality to the sleep mode, and you really have to turn the button to turn the bench off. So this is the first thing. The other thing, we are doing a lot of tests with the different kind of glass, with the different kind of foils, with the different kind of angles, with the
Okay.
different kind of modularity and design of the product, so we can change the angle of the sun coming to the product, doing the product working
Mm.
life, to make it working better. So even though we are using part of existing technology, we are really doing a lot of design work to be able to have as much energy and as high efficiency as it's possible.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing that. It's very interesting to see how you really sort of have to adapt to the limitations of these panels, right? As you mentioned. But now then, in the whole other aspect, now that you have to adapt to those, how do you approach, for example, when you are first starting to build a new product, right? Say the scooter rack that you have in the back. How do you first approach it? Do you first decide what type of panels you want to have, the size, maybe the amount of panels? Because of course, the more panels, the more space is going to take. Or if it's going to be something short, how do you first approach a brand new project for a brand new prototype?
So we start from building the kind of radiation and kind of upside of the energy usage. This
Hmm.
is most important for us. So how much energy will the product actually use? And how much we need to produce to be able to empower it and produce that much to be able to power those functionalities. So for example, for the electromobility charging station, we knew that we want to have something that will be modular, but not from the single units because it will be too
Hmm.
small over the time. So we started from thinking about four devices that will be charging. And then the topic was how many devices will be actually there to charge? How long will they
Mm.
charge? Either they're gonna charge through the entire year and it's gonna be the same number, or
Hmm.
it's gonna vary during the periods of the year.
Hmm.
So we started from some initial thoughts and we have made this calculation and eventually my engineers were like really, safety, and they wanted to have more and more energy to be more secure. And I was like, okay, we'll really actually check it when the product will be installed. If those guys coming to the charging station, they will be doing like the 100% of the charging. And eventually, then when we gather some data, we found out
Mm.
that the average charging is actually between 15 to 25%. So it's actually not that much
Yeah.
as we were figuring out in the beginning. And the other thing was okay, but in the winter time we don't have the energy.
Right.
But yeah, we also don't have the users because in the winter time in the snow nobody is really the speaker. So
Wow.
eventually we are having all this data after the first installation. We are having the data coming in to our cloud system. And we use those to find the best fit between the energy we produce and number of slots we have in the station. It's surely different in the
Hmm.
different localization, but then our energy management system comes to work and it's doing the best work.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool. Now I'm very curious. Is it the same? I would assume it's sort of the same throughout the entire Poland, right? But for example, do you currently do international installations, or perhaps is it in your plans? I'm asking this because, based on what you just explained to me, that would mean that the entire project has to be thought differently because of this variation from the year. Just how much do you really have to change your tech to accommodate wherever it is actually going to end up, installed?
So it seems that initially everything is designed to be working in even in the Scandinavia countries,
Hmm.
not like the Trump zone, like in the very north, but in the regular zone.
Yeah.
So we have some installations in Toronto,
Wow.
Germany, France, Poland, which are very tough in field of the number of sun hours in the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what we try to do is trying to design the product for the worst conditions possible, and then for the different countries, when we have more sun, we are trying to figure out how we can use the energy to provide something more.
Mm.
For example, to use the energy to lighten up the light during the nighttime.
Yeah.
Or use this energy like we have done in our bus shelter to empower the city light with the advertisements in the public space. So if you have this time to use more energy, we tend to try and seek for the possibilities to use the energy to some extra
Hmm.
products instead of wasting it.
Wow.
So there's
Okay.
redesign of the products. Just we are trying to figure out how we can use this energy in the best way possible.
Right. It's as they say, right? An ongoing, never-ending sort of development. It's pretty cool. Thank you very much for sharing that. Now, I also want to ask about this. It sort of breaks the part of the efficiency and the solar panels and the way that you produce this, but it's also like during the development stages. Do you have to keep in mind where it is gonna go? For example, is it the same development if it goes for maybe a park versus if it goes for maybe a private installation in say a large manufacturing facility, for example? In terms of aesthetics, in terms of lighting, do you have to follow the exact same production, or do you maybe do it sort of modular, so that you can adjust it to match the aesthetics of where it's gonna go?
It's actually very important to us because you know we might like to install a product that will be not having the maximum functionalities
Mm-hmm.
for the location. So we always start the process from the discussion with the customer, and we try to advise him how
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of functionalities, what kind of design will be the best fit for the location, and also to check the possibilities and for the sun. Because if we have sunny in a
Mm-hmm.
location, it's making it more tricky, and we always try to find the best location, which is the most sunny one. So
Mm-hmm.
we know that we will be giving the highest number of the sun hours, and also that we'll be able to install the product in the direction that it will be working the most effective. So it's always the driving phase at the beginning. Products itself, the product themselves are designed to be very modular. So especially the design we are calling the it's called City.
Mm-hmm.
It's having three different configurations. So it
All
can be
right.
like very simple one, but we can add on the bike rack, we can add on the back seat, because we
Okay.
knew from the beginning that we don't want to have a different design for different purposes, because it's not only the product inside, because there's
Yeah.
electronics systems and stuff. So we decided to have the one that is well designed, but it's having a different module. So if you want to install it next to the background, you just add in the backgrounds. When you want to have something very simple next to your office or next to your municipality building, you just have the simple one that is only focused on powering, mobile devices and
Right. Right.
providing do Wi-Fi. So it is always very important for us that we know that the product is really well designed outside, but also inside, and it's really sealed and it's really well connected, but also it's modular, so we can extend it, change it for the best functionality for the location.
Wow. So, and about this modularity that you mentioned, I mean, I understand that it's sort of it all comes from the same main tech, right? Which is rather the generation side, and then you sort of put a bike rack or a bench, etc. Right? Um, does this modularity sorry also include the length? For example, the size of the project. Like, is it all interconnected, or if they need such a large space, is it just individual slots, sort of stacked right one next to the other?
Yes, because for the base shelter, it's designed from the modules, so you can have from 2 modules up to 10 modules, for example.
Wow.
So it's really going on the line. The same with the charging station. So we use these quad-plane modules.
Uh huh.
So we can have 4, 8, 12, 16. But for
Wow.
the base we only stick to the size we have. The different, the shortest one is 1.6 meters. The longest one is 2.2 meters. And then if you want to have more, we just connect them on the sides, and we can build something bigger.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm very curious about this with this modularity, and when you sort of stack them, as you mentioned, for example, the rack that you have in the back that it can go all the way to 16. Um, does that mean that the installation is the same for the 16, or do you, for example, for the solar panel part, do you use only one inverter out of the whole maybe four racks that you have, or just two, or do you only use a single battery instead of having to use an individual battery for each of these racks, for example? Like in the solar area side, do you interconnect those to maintain the maximum? Well, actually, the other way to use the least possible products without
Yeah.
losing function.
It's modular in the hardware and electronic design as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
the PCBs are also modular. So, for
Nice.
example, the energy management board that is responsible for charging of scooters
Hmm.
is having 4 slots. So if we are having
Cool.
16 slot station, we are using the 4 boards, and they are all working they're connected through the OS, and they are we in the cloud system we see them every single one as a different module.
Hmm.
uh, it's making it a little bit more expensive than if we are, able to scale up it through the energy, but then it's far more flexible even for the customer. If we're having
Yeah.
any kind of service that we need to provide, we just send you one board, and it's really.
Wow. That's actually pretty cool. Thank you very much for that. But now this does trigger one other question that I have, which I've had actually for a few minutes now, which is now you've already explained to us how different, that this is different, for example, based on the size or based on the places that you have to take into consideration the sun hours that's going to be available, etc., etc., etc. And also the fact that you install this in very harsh countries like in Scandinavian countries, for example. How does maintenance look for your racks and for your technology? Because I see like there are two main parts that could require maintenance. On the one side, the electrical part, but also on the other, the racks themselves, the charging stations. How does maintenance look like for your tech?
Well, um, starting from the fact that everything is really well designed, and we test those for the IP and for the IQ. So this is the first IP is for the humidity and
Yeah,
then the sun. IQ is for the vandalism, so durability of
yeah.
the product. We try to have them really, really, durable and well designed, so we do not have any problems coming just from the weather conditions.
Yes.
When we have any kind of act of vandalism, we have all the manuals for our distributors and service guys, even in the
Mm,
other countries. So we only provide you the spare part because everything is really modular.
that's cool.
For example, if you have the issue of the bike plug, you only change the bike plug. You do not need to change the entire bench. If you have any
Wow.
kind of issue, let's say with some polycarbonate for the lights, you only change this one part. So everything is like the puzzles, Lego puzzles that you really need to just enter the service doors, and it's like really easy service. This is something we wanted to have because we are working with the distributors, so they need to have it really easy service, not to waste a lot of time for the after sales customer contact.
Wow. That's it's pretty cool. As I said before, it's great to see how prepared you are since scratch. I mean, from scratch. Sorry, it's pretty cool. I didn't even know that this. You said it was IC for vandalism. It's
IK, it's
oh
IK.
okay. That's actually cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. Thank you very much for that. Now, moving along to a different part of the whole tech. The fact that these are essentially and in very simplistic terms just off-grid solar systems, connected to a bike or a rack, etc. Is there a moving version of this? Because I've been thinking about this and sort of the possibilities that there might be. I don't know if you have already thought about this or built it, but is there a moving version? Something, for example, that could be used, say, as a rental for maybe a festival or concerts, etc., but also in the whole other side as a, for example, as a first response sort of product for maybe a natural disaster or for a point in need, where this could be used as an emergency energy generator for, I don't know, medical tech, and medical devices, or just charging stations. Is there a moving version of this? Is it even possible?
They are extremely mobile because the installation of the product is very simple. We only need like, or 4 or 6 or 8 answer to the ground. So the installation is super light. So if we need to move it to the other location, it's actually pretty easy to make the reinstallation. We
Mm,
do not do any, heavy groundworks. So so first of all, it's really mobile product. So we do not need any, electricity connection, Ethernet connection, deep groundwork, maybe for the bus shelter for the safety reason.
yeah.
But there are some customers that are using our technology for the festival, as you mentioned. So we are having a rental
Wow.
offer as well. We are having, like dozens of pieces on the stock that they can lend in the events. Then we are doing the
Yeah.
blending stuff, taking the care of the technology, but it's going, well through the entire festival. So yeah, this is something we have in the offer.
Oh, that's
And for
cool.
the other thing, like you mentioned this catharsis part, this is something we are still considering and we're having a lot of conversation
Mm.
with countries, especially in Africa, but also in the Middle East. That actually there are some prizes in there and there are some blackouts in there. And they were asking if we are able to provide those technology that will be like
Mm.
the last point of contact for the people. And we are now in the process in 2 or 3 projects in Africa, especially
Wow.
that our technology may be the core of the technology to provide the electricity and connectivity for the people if they're in the blackout time. And also we have been the project with UNDP in Moldova in one of the cities that they use our shooting. So it's like made this movie running with them. They use the bench really extending the really old one from like 70s to the new one with the connectivity, and they actually manage the mass of the information on the dishes.
Uh-huh. Wow, that is very cool to know. Thank you for sharing that. I was genuinely curious because in the end, everybody sort of believes, I guess, that any technology can be used, for this type of usage, right? When it's applied properly. So thank you very much for sharing that. It's cool to know that it's already in plans, it's already cooking, and it's also at least it's on your radar. It's very cool to know that. Thank you very much for sharing that. Now, moving back into the actual technology of this, we already discussed quite a bit about the electricity, the electrical part. We already talked about the maintenance part and sort of how the modularity works. But for the actual charging stations for the bike, for the scooters that you have in the back, for the benches, etc., I'm very curious. Did you sort of buy technology that was already existing for this charging, or did you build it from scratch as well? Because it is a completely different scenario and a completely different type of technology these than just plugging in solar panels, for example. um, is it very different? Does it take a lot of R&D efforts, or did you simply choose like to go with an already proven and existing solution?
Well, it's always hard for us to find something on the market that we'll be able to implement. It is very hard because the reason is that the main goal for us to when we are designing the new products is to be able to have the connectivity all the time. So even if we are lacking the energy, we need to have the status of the product. And to be able to do so, we need to have the full control of every single element of the system we have inside.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that we will not suck the battery, we will not lose the connection with the product. And to be able to do it, we had to design the charging PCB from the scratch. So now we have the full control over the power we provide
Mm-hmm.
for the output slots, and we can manage these, taking the information about the battery voltage we have at all the time continuously monitoring. We can really manage the outputs, so we know that the product will like survive the entire life, and we
Uh-huh.
will the connectivity and all the status about the product. So even though you will lose possibility to change it by micromobility device, we will still know the status and we can give you a feedback. We can send you any kind of push out. We can send you the SMS. We can send you the information on the mobile app. So you know that okay, charging is fine. This everything is fine. Your device is still locked. You can be sure that everything's good. Even though the device is not
Nice.
charging now.
Oh, that's actually very cool, and that is that topic that I wanted to touch precisely, which is the way that your installations help for city management, basically. First of all, thank you for sharing that you can literally see the performance and monitor the health on the app. But There are also other video technologies for what I was able to investigate. That you have, for example, the energy sensors, smog sensors, and overall public sort of public management health capabilities, right? In a way. So, how do you implement these sensors into your tech, and more importantly, how do you come up with that idea? Because this doesn't seem like the type of feature that a product has in the first iterations. It seems more of one of those features that you sort of were like, huh, we could use it for this, or somebody asked for it. So how was it?
Nice. It was actually that, when we are already in the municipalities and we knew that our products are becoming something more common in the public space, and we were still looking how we can develop those to be able to be more useful for the city managers.
Hmm.
We build a map of the sensors so we can actually implement in the products. Not all of them were easy to implement. Few of them we resigned because they were consuming too much energy, or the allocation were not, the best for those. But few of them we did implement, to be able to give some, extra data for the public space managers, CIOs in the cities, CTOs in the city. We really need to have a lot of different data sources to be able to manage city, far better and have some good information of what's going on. So that is in
Hmm.
the process, that's for sure. And yeah, what we have at that point is we're measuring, the pollution information, the humidity, temperature, number of
Nice.
users, the footprint of the product. So we measure the amount of energy we have produced, amount of energy we have used. We measure the carbon footprint of every single user who is coming to charge. So you can see this in the
Wow.
mobile app we provide. And we are also measuring the number of users that is present there. So we know the number of the pedestrians that is coming to the product. And yeah, we can use that in a bunch of different ways.
Wow. That's actually pretty cool. It's I'm curious though. So is are these sensors also modular? Because I can imagine that not every municipality is gonna need to know all of that data. They're just gonna be focused on something. How is that modular? How do you make sure which are working and which are not installed?
Yeah, it's actually the choice we are doing it. In the other markets, customers choosing the sensors you want to have inside.
Yeah.
So we have the converter watch that is also our design, so it can operate up
Oh,
to 6 different sensors. So we can
nice.
use the modules, and
Right.
the entire design is prepared for all of those. But for the international markets, we try to go with the strategy that there's always like the full set of sensors inside, and we only turn them on the software.
All right, that's actually pretty cool. It's just great to see how modular everything is. I even things I didn't expect, like the sensors. That's pretty great. Thank you very much for sharing that. Now, I know it's a little bit late where you are right now, and also more importantly, we are reaching 1 hour of interview. So it's a great moment to start closing this out because we already understand about installation, maintenance, the type of technology that you have, the modularity, the panels, the racks. It's a lot. It's amazing. Now, there is one question that I have, which is more about the industry itself, right? Because I have to say that this concept of smart cities and this concept of turning very normal, very regular, very common public spaces into electric generators, into in smart benches, smart racks, etc. I haven't seen it anywhere else. So, where do you expect this industry to move forward in 5, maybe even 10 years? Right? Not only from SEEDia, but from maybe other companies that are joining in. Perhaps any sort of collaboration with I don't know some of these companies that install like the supercharging stations for electric cars, for example. That maybe they're like just how do you see it expanding over the future? Because it is such a very specific and very unique tech that you're building.
Maybe the technology itself is unique, but it's only unique when you are thinking about, let's say, benches.
Mm-hmm.
But the core of the technology, it can be used for different type of products. This is why it's actually pretty easy now for us to build a new product. The core of the technology is really well done. And what we are doing now, we are doing also the integration with the other type of products from the third parties companies. Yeah, for
Okay.
let's give you the example. There is the company in Poland that is building the repair station for the bike. And one of
Okay.
the things we wanted to have is the pump to be electrical. And surely this is also the kind of the product that you will not be able to connect it to the grid anyhow. So we are making the integration of our technologies to be able to make it working from the solar energy. And this for us, it's additional type of small architecture product you will have in the offer, but it's done with the other company. And it will be connected to the cloud. It will gather the data. It will have the hotspot inside. So the thing that was just a very easy product, very simple one, like a year and 2 years ago, we are really changing it for the smart city. The other thing we're doing the integration is the building company, one of the biggest one in Poland. They were doing the design of the whole street, and the municipality wanted to have it in the like street design connected to all the other stuff we were designing. But they need to have the charging points inside. So we also made the integration with this, specific personalized design.
Mm.
The other thing is the vehicles. The vehicles which are becoming more common in the cities. We're also doing the product, the company that is manufacturing the part and is integrating our technology. So the technology itself is very powerful, and we can use it to a lot of different, stuff, a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
installation. So we have to keep that in mind. But from the market perspective, the smart city is something that is really booming now, and also, we are very focused on 15-minute cities, on public transportation,
Right.
on the road technologies, and bike roads, which is something that especially Europe and actually all the smart city strategies, they're really having this it's always very strong core in the strategies. Even though, there are countries like USA that is really a rude country and a really bustling country. If you go deeper in the strategies, you can always see, the element of the bikes in those.
Wow, it's very cool. Thank you very much for sharing that. It's also a very interesting sort of vision, right? And comparison just among how other things are doing. I personally hadn't seen one, but it's cool to know that these efforts are not going they're not slowing down, which is really cool. But now, there is one final question that I have for you, all right, before we end this live. And it has to do a little less with the technology itself, and it has to do a lot more with your preparation, right? Because you're not just a CEO and a co-founder, but you're also, I mean, you have a lot of experience in research. You have a lot of experience in engineering. You have you have a quite a very interesting history, right? So my question for this is for an advice, right? What advice do you have for maybe a young entrepreneur, a young engineer, just a young person who is starting their own journey that they want to really take the tech world by by its horns, as they say, and really make a difference? Because I really I'm genuinely curious how an engineer turned co-founder turned CEO thinks about this. What advice do you have?
By my time, I'm an engineer, so I finished automatics and robotics. So my core was always, the product design and engineering. So this is the important part of it. But something I see, especially in the engineers, when they start a new startup and they build a product, is that they are really waiting a long time before they reach the market with the products. And a lot of time, if you start discussion with the market, it's already too late. You have spent like a lot of time and a lot of money to design the products, and then you go to the market, and the market says, "Okay, we don't need it." So this is something that I would say in the first place that even in the face of idea, even of the face on MVP, you should really go to the market and talk with the market to check what customers actually need. Because most
Nice.
likely the thing that you have in your mind, it's not the same that customers actually need. There are some examples, for the good startups that the initial idea was good one, that market was really desiring, but like 95% is like different story. You have to go to the market and talk with the customer. The other thing I really need to mention is that you really need to be brave and also stick to your idea, because as I mentioned in our example, like the first 1 year or 2 years, we really like
Yeah.
everybody was saying that we were wasting the public money and nobody needs it. But it was a very nice product, and we really need to remember that. At the stage we designed the first bench, there were only one or two companies on the market that were having products in this category.
Hmm.
And at that point, I think we are having like 80 of them. So we're like on the very first
Wow.
stage of the market, and that was really of internet to be able to really provide it to the market, through all the problems and problems in the market. Because always the initial stage when you're starting something new and the market is not there yet, you need to have a lot of confidence and a lot of faith.
Wow. It's actually a great advice. There you have it. Listen to the market, be confident, and trust your ideas. Thank you very much for that advice. I believe that is the perfect way to give a closure to this interview. Uh, Piotr, thank you very much for being here. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I appreciate a lot you being here, sharing your thoughts, your history, your tech. This was a very tech oriented talk. It was very heavy on your products and the hardware. It's amazing. But now, for anybody who wants to actually explore SEEDia a little more, where can we find you? We're going to find SEEDia. What are your social media handles?
I think like we are everywhere, but the website is the most important one because it's saying everything about the offer. So it's city.
Mhm.
So we are in the smart city, so with the city. So it's in the name, but we are also the same name. You can find us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and Instagram. I think the only one we don't have is the TikTok, but the rest we are there.
That's actually pretty cool. I mean, I can vouch that if you go to the website and then to the social media, like the especially the videos part, they're pretty cool. They are really cool. It's just amazing to see the tech actually like there working and functioning. Plus, I have to say the images that you have on your website are so futuristic, so cool. Highly recommended to go ahead and check them out, guys. Remember that from our side, you can find more information, interesting articles, interviews, clips, shorts, blogs, a lot of more content on our website, buildernation.io, and as BuilderNation across all social media. We're going to love to hear from you. Thank you very much for being part of this community. Piotr, thank you for joining us in this journey. We're so lucky to have you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right, goodbye.
When building the future is your priority, tedious procurement processes should be last on your list. The problem is that purchasing data is scattered across spreadsheets, receipts, emails, and messages. Tracking it all sucks and makes it easy to commit mistakes. Introducing the Control Hub Way, the all-in-one purchasing software for hardware companies. Buying parts, services, or office supplies? Submit a quick purchase request to buy from your list of approved vendors, or buy from a new provider. Buying from approved vendors is even easier. Import your shopping cart directly into your purchase request using our checkout integrations. When the order is ready, submit it for approval. We'll ping all pre-designated approvers both via Control Hub's website, email, and Slack notifications for a faster turnaround. If you need a PO, we got you. Generate it in one click. Online purchase? Boom, virtual card. Do an automatic three-way match, pay invoices, and sync everything live with QuickBooks or NetSuite. Purchasing just got a lot easier. Control Hub. Get back to building.